particularly sleepy this afternoon. You've got an interesting tip of a tail, this male. Really, really dark black and not quite as fluffy as that of the other lions. It sort of makes me wonder if he didn't lose a little bit of it. Not the tip of the actual tip of the tail, but maybe just some of the fur. To me, there's just something a bit odd about it. And while we have a look at his restful face, albeit covered in scars, Nisa, you were wondering, would this male lion be a threat to a female leopard and cubs? Yes, a male lion is a threat to pretty much everything out here, including other male lions, and the females that they are not familiar with or unfamiliar with, and especially the cubs of females that they have not mated with. But for leopards in particular, luckily for them, they tend to be far more agile than the muscle-bound, rather large male lions. A male lion can't really, in any way, equal the leopard's tree climbing abilities, and even Karula's cubs, in fact, especially Karula's cubs at their tiny age, would be able to get right out onto the thin branches of the trees, far out of his reach. Which is why we feel a lot better about viewing them now that they're over 2 months old. They're now 4 months old, just because they have developed that coordination that they need in order to escape threats like this male lion. In my experience, Nisa, it's not really established dominant male lions that pose the most threat. From what I've seen, it's sub-adult male lions that tend to go out of their way more than the dominant male lions themselves to chase things like leopards. They have a curious streak, and they have quite it's almost like they're learning what their boundaries are, and they're far more interested in things like leopards, and they've got more energy to expend than these males do. So I've seen young sub-adult male lions chasing rhino and trying to hunt rhino, even though they had absolutely no chance of being successful in this particular case. I've seen them jump onto the back of fully grown rhino, almost like a training exercise. It was the Tsalala young males that chased Karula and Tingana not far at all from where we are now, a couple of months ago. I've seen them target tortoises far more frequently. It's almost like they need to get that learning out of the way, and that instinct runs really, really powerfully in them. A dominant male lion like this Birmingham boy will probably be a little bit more reluctant to waste the energy that he actually needs to patrol and to protect his territory. Now, having just seen the Matimba male lions not terribly long ago, it strikes me now in comparison, this is the first Birmingham boy I've seen since that sighting, strikes me just how small the Birmingham boys actually are. And I don't mean that, I mean in comparison to other male lions. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to offend you. You're still very handsome. Yes, that's your tail. Shame. They are smaller. They are genetically much smaller lions than the Matimba males. But of course there are 4 of them. There were 5. There are now only 4 of them. An advantage in numbers is a huge thing in a male lion coalition. Here you go. Tucked himself up, and he's sort of curled up into a ball, and I think he looks smaller for his body posture as well. I think he's feeling a bit lonely. That Nkuhuma female that he was mating with, the young lioness, I don't think she was terribly impressed by his attentions. I know that Brent spoke a lot about the fact that it might have been false estrus for her, one of her first estrus cycles and one of her first experiences mating with a male. And he's now left to rejoin his buddies after, I think, what was a relatively unsuccessful week spent with a lady. Well, since our lion seems to be rather sleepy, I think it's time to go and have a look at a sleepy leopard, because we're just spoiled like that.
well, there's a tiny patch of sunset breaking through this heavy cloud exterior. It's the second night in a row we've had this tiny little window into the light, but if anything, our sleeping leopard is giving the sleeping lion a good run for its money, because he's actually tucked his nose in and cuddled himself even more. So that's not a good sign if we're thinking he's going to move shortly. So one of the reasons that leopards use these termite mounds as spots to hide and sleep on and rest on is because of the potential of prey coming upon them. And if we come out wide a little bit, and this ties in with Annie in British Columbia's question. There we go, and look at that. So now, if he keeps his head down, even if he raises his head a little bit, he looks like it could be a chimney of the termite mound. So it's a really good spot. And if something did happen to come across, he would definitely try hunt it. Guys, I've just got to be on the game drive, just trying to get Mike into the sighting. Mike, keep coming along Savage's track.
Okay, copy, sorry.
No worries. Just keep coming from where you are. He's flat on top of the Shidulu. So he hasn't really moved a muscle apart from the odd twitch of the ear. There we go. There was an ear twitch. Riveting stuff. But as I say, you have to spend these quiet times with the cats to get the movement that will come. And when they do move, it is just so incredibly graceful and beautiful. It sort of just takes your breath away. So we're sitting here with a single leopard. Jamie's with a single lion. Now George is wondering, will leopard hunt with other leopard? Because other lions hunt with other lions. They do not, George. A leopard is a solitary animal. The only time you might see that happening is when there's a mating pair together and it's more of an opportune thing, or a female leopard with cubs. So generally they do not hunt together. They're not cooperative hunters. Lions are the only social cat and the only cooperative hunting cat in the world. And it's a really, really amazing thing that leopards prefer to be solitary, and that's also why they have slightly different behavior. I will be back with you in a second. I'm just going to give Mike a hand quickly. So I'm just giving Mike some hand signals about where he should go to get a view of Mr. Tingana sleeping atop the termite mound. So while we sit with one flat cat, let's go have a look at another with Jamie.
Well, I suppose when you're just waking up, a sense of personal hygiene is relatively important, especially after the activities of the last few days, and the rather inexpert ones at that. I think perhaps feeling a little bit sore, a little bit tired. Nothing that a good few stretches won't fix. Also helps to get rid of the ticks that target the more sensitive and soft-skinned areas. It'll be interesting to see, because although he's been sleeping, he's not really fully relaxed as only a male lion can be fully relaxed. And very often when lions start to lick their feet like this to groom themselves, if he gives us a couple of good yawns, then we might be in for a sight of a male lion on the move. I'm not 100% convinced though. I think he's just feeling a bit itchy. Maybe. He's certainly looking a bit perkier than he did when we first arrived. Having a good chest lick now. Now, Robin, on the subject of our lions and leopard dynamics, you were wondering if the leopards always know roughly where the lions are and if they listen to the lions roaring. Yes, they listen to the lions roaring, and yes, that would give them an idea. However, they get surprised by lions more often than you think they would. Like that sighting that I was describing earlier with Tingana and Karula, they had absolutely no idea that the Salala pride was there. Admittedly, they were somewhat distracted by each other. Oh, big yawn again. I think you're thinking about getting up, boy. The robin, no, they don't always know, but if there are lions calling, then it does give them a rough idea. The difficulty is, of course, that lions roar and then they walk for a bit and lie down. What's interesting is that leopards often pop out at lion sightings and are relatively unconcerned, because for them it's not going to be the lion they see that gets them. Just in general, leopards are just that fraction faster than lions, have a bit more stamina, and obviously their tree climbing skills far outweigh that of a lion. Although I think their flexibility, judging by the movements that he is currently performing for us, they're probably equal. You can put that foot down now. Yes, there we go. And Julia in Houston, as he grooms himself most thoroughly, leaving no corner, no stone unturned, so to speak. You're wondering if this is the lion with the fungus on his belly. I think it might be. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't had a good chance to look. I thought it was initially when I first arrived. I'll have to just double check and then confirm for you in a moment. I think he might get up, even if he doesn't go terribly far. He might just be planning a quick walk around in another spot to pick. As I said, I'm still not entirely sure why underneath one of the sort of nastiest thorn trees that we have was a good plan. Another big yawn. Trying to decide whether or not it's worth getting up at this early hour of the evening. Our Rob Rhino, while he was fast asleep, we know that their ears twitch and that animals listen, but you're wondering if sleeping cats can still detect scents, the smells that waft past them. And yes, I'm relatively certain that they can. They don't really sleep in the same way human beings sleep, that we've evolved to the point where we feel safe enough to be completely switched off to the world around us. Lions, even a male lion, can't really afford to be completely, because you never know when a snack might come wandering around the corner. And it's time to put those fierce-looking canines to use. So yes, their brain will be on sort of constant alert and aware of the smells that are wafting towards them. You've done some very thorough cleaning, boy, but you might need to go and find your buddies to sort that mane out. Fix a little bit of the bad mane day. Oh, nibbling between the toes. Giving us a really good glimpse. Now that tooth of his, on the inside edge of that canine, so towards the back of his mouth, it's not just the points of those canine teeth that are sharp, it's also there's a sharp ridge that runs along the back of each canine. And that is, it's basically serrated like a steak knife. Then he's got that really, really rough tongue that he's putting to good use, although at the moment he's mainly using his incisors to nibble away at the patches in his fur. Now Sandy, who is watching in British Columbia. I have a confession to make, Sandy. I have never been anywhere in that area. I've never traveled to the North Americas, nor indeed anywhere on the western side of our continent. But you were wondering, because there are cougars in your area, whether if you encountered one during the day, would you be more dominant? Oh, sorry, Sandy. Contact calling. How awesome is that? A little bit of a surprise roar for us, even if it was a little bit of a half-hearted roar. It's always the most awe-inspiring sound. You might have to try a little harder though, dude. Your buddies are quite far away from what I've heard. Although their hearing is a great deal better than ours, naturally. That was a half-hearted yawn roar. A yaw. Sorry, Sandy, I will get back to your question in a moment. I just want to see what he decides to do. He's very clearly feeling terribly lonely and very much like he'd like to know where the rest of his coalition is. He's decided that his time away from his brothers or cousins with the ladies has taught him all he needs to know, and it really is time to start heading back. But while he occupies himself cleaning his chest, Sandy, you were wondering if it's sort of the same as it is with us and the lions, because during the daytime we are very much the dominant species out here. And yes, I would say that it would be the same with a cougar, I imagine. It's the same sort of evolutionary background. They know us as hunters in the same way that our lions know the bipedal shape as the dominant predator. And then again, just as with lions, I imagine that the night time becomes a whole different story. Because when it gets dark, a sound like this, okay, maybe not like that, the sound of a proper male roaring is enough to strike fear into the hearts of a man when it is dark. Are you going to get a proper roar from you, boy? Or is it just going to be more of these sort of half-hearted, very miserable sounding, guys, I want to come home now. I know where they are. They're not terribly far from here. They're towards our southern boundary, close to Little Gowrie, I believe. I could be mistaken, but that was the update that we received. And that, I think, is why we have the sighting all to ourselves, because I think that the other vehicles are there with the Birmingham boys and a buffalo kill. Not sure if it's all of them, but certainly at least 2 of them are south of Gowrie, Maine. So we are probably, where we are now on Knobthorne Open in Arathusa, we're probably about in a straight line 2 or so miles away. Maybe 1.5, depending exactly where they are on Little Gowrie. And I think that right foot has been hurting him a little bit, or there's something uncomfortable, maybe a burr or a thorn stuck there. Although now he's using it to clean his face. So while we wait for him to decide what his plans are for the evening, let's go and find out from Brent what he thinks Tingana's plans might be.
Welcome back. We haven't left this male leopard yet. He's still lying flat on top of the termite mound. But we are moving into that crepuscular period of the day when it's likely for the predators to start moving. So at the moment, all he's done is actually got even more flat. So he's snoozing properly. And if we have a look back up towards the termite mound, you can see he's actually laid his head down. Now it seems like we've both got sleepy cats on this sunset safari. Jamie's sitting with the lions, or a lion, I apologize, and we're sitting with Mr. Tingana, the dominant male leopard from these areas. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, are wondering, how do we identify these different leopards so quickly, and how, if we have a closer look, do we identify them? And I'm trying to find a good picture to show you, and we'll show you how we do that identification and what's the best and most reliable way to identify the different big cats. Now, here we go. We're going to go for a young male leopard who's recently made his way back to the Sabi Sands, and to show you how spot patterns work. Is that okay there, Brian? So each individual leopard has a completely unique spot pattern above the last line of whiskers. So you can have a look. Here is what we would call a 3-3 male. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now Tingana, if I remember correctly, is 4, 4. So there we go. That is young Sindile. Pretty boy. And he was seen very close to the boundary of Arathusa. Sorry, not seen. His collar pinged. So maybe we might be getting lucky enough to catch a visual of that naughty little chicken. But the one thing we've got to be worried about, we're going to go across to Jamie with the lion roaring.
Now that was a bit more impressive. There we go. Putting on a full show of what it's like to have a lion roaring next to your car. Now from where Viam and I were sitting, we could feel the vibrations through that in our chests. It is the most indescribable moment when a lion calls right next to you. You feel that vibration. It is one of the most, I don't know, it stops the world when a lion roars next to your vehicle. It's like everything else ceases to exist. Oh, I have a good scratch. And we are so lucky to have been able to experience that. Yes, he's definitely the one with the fungal infection. It's spread to his shoulder a little bit. You can see that raw patch there as he scratches around it. And Cindy, yes, absolutely. His buddies would have recognized that call. Look, there you go. You can sort of see that patch is very itchy and uncomfortable. You can see him rubbing it with his foot, but he hasn't really extended his claws, trying to get a bit of relief from it. Sorry, Cindy, I didn't fully answer you. I'll be with you in a sec. Oh, goodness. I wish I could do that when I get those sort of itches behind my shoulder blade. It's always impossible to reach, but he seems to do it without having to struggle. So Cindy, yes, each and every lion is capable of recognizing another individual's call. It will strike fear into the hearts of the Birmingham boys' opponents. Well, no, not quite, but it certainly lets them know that the Birminghams are actively patrolling their territory. And it will let the females know where they are, and most importantly, it's a way for him to shout across 5 miles easily in this cool winter air to his buddies on the other side of Djuma, saying, "Where are you guys? I need you to call back so that I can come and find you." And that's what he's trying to do now, and it's time for us to go with him on this journey. I have no doubt he's about to pop out on Triple M, but we'll try and stick with him. It does get very thick through here. But off we go. Male lion on the move. Goodness, I didn't even get to put my car in low range. Everything's happened so fast this afternoon. At least Rusty started this time. Okay. stop for a moment. He's going to start going into a strychnos thicket, a monkey orange thicket. I'm going to let him get a little way ahead of us before we follow. Very dark in colour, and I think that's a combination of the fungal infection and dirt as well. He's been lying up in somewhere muddy. Okay, let's not let him get too far while we go on and follow him through the bush over to Brent and Tingana.
So his head's up, and this is a good sign. It's a precursor to movement. He's doing a bit of grooming, and leopards are avid groomers. They spend a lot of their time grooming, and it is always a good sign when you're sitting with a cat that's been sleeping for a while. Groom, and they start stretching, defecating, urinating, and then he's likely to be on the move. Now, amazingly enough, you were with that male lion roaring with Jamie. We could hear him from here, and we're probably about 4.5 kilometers away. Isn't that incredible? And he started moving as soon as that male lion roared. Definitely not anything to do with that male lion. It is just getting to that time of the day. I must say, I am definitely a fan of the crepuscular hours. And back to snooze. He's teasing with us. He's toying with us, but he is definitely a little bit more alert than he has been in the last while. Now, James Richard is wondering, is it purely a leopard's age and genetics that determine the size of its dewlap? You probably find it's going to be more to do with genetics. So that dewlap and that thick skin around a male leopard's neck is very important. It offers them that little bit of extra protection when they are fighting with other males. So I think it's probably more genetics. You find the physically bigger males have bigger, have bigger dewlaps. So if you look at an animal like Mvula, his is a bit smaller, and that's probably just because he is a much smaller leopard. Tingana probably got 30-40 pounds in terms of weight advantage of him. He looks like if I had to describe him, he's like a heavyweight prize fighter, as opposed to Mvula, who's sort of a middle heavyweight. I think there's such a thing. I've never been much of a boxing follower myself. Now, as you can see, he is completely relaxed and ignoring us. Nisa in North Carolina is wondering, would the leopard ever perceive us as a threat at any time? Nisa, we would have to be very badly behaved for that to happen, and we'd have to push him and drive very badly to get this leopard to see us as a threat. And fortunately, all of us around here, we don't want that. We're here to observe, not to interfere in anything that the animals are up to. So, not really, Nisa. Sometimes on foot they can perceive you as a threat. Normally they'll try to scoot away from you or slink away from you. But if you happen to catch them in a bad moment or in an area where they feel a little bit cornered, they will give you a warning charge. And a leopard warning charge on foot is possibly one of the most exciting and scary and just everything at once. Now, in my younger years down south in the Sabi Sands, there used to be a particular male leopard who seemed to really enjoy absolutely scaring the living daylights out of us. His name was the short-tailed male, or shorty. And when we used to track him on foot, he would often charge us. I think the most scary charge I ever faced from him was in a little river system, probably about the same size as the Mawati that runs through the center of Djuma. And I was with Mr. Matabula, my tracker, for quite a few years, and a wonderful old gentleman. And we were following these tracks, and they were very fresh, and we always tend to get quite excited when we're on fresh leopard tracks. And as we walked through a particularly narrow part of this little river system in a Tamburti thicket, the Tamburti thicket became a roaring jumbo jet. and that's what it sounds like. But we'll continue the story in a little bit. The lion's out in the open on Triple N.
The lion is out in the open and wandering down Triple M, exactly where we expected him to go, towards his buddies. And hopefully, before he crosses our boundary, we will be able to be treated to one more dazzling exhibition of his vocalizations. Scent marking, spraying the weeping wattle with urine, all part of the territorial duties of a dominant male. He's looking hungry, and I'm sure that he is very interested in the buffalo kill that the rest of his coalition apparently have. Listening carefully. An interesting point from Jane B, as he goes exactly where I don't want him to go, because this is a very, very dense block. You're wondering if, since lions fight over food, would the lions not respond to his call, since to do so would mean that they would have to share their food with him? It's a very good point. The answer is no. Even though lions are very competitive over food, it does mean, their instinct towards the power of the coalition and the strength in numbers would mean that they would automatically respond. And they probably have, it's just that my human ears are too feeble to pick up on them. Now, this block is incredibly dense. I'm not going to follow him in here. As you know, we can't really afford to risk the vehicle. We don't want to damage Rusty anymore. But we are going to let him go through here without following. But what we'll do is we'll keep moving, because I'm sure he's going to head straight towards Gowrie Main. So we'll catch him there. I just need to hop onto the Game Drive channel to call it in on a different station. Okay, let's try and multitask. You hear the fork-tailed drongos alarming as it goes past. Oh, just listen to this. We will catch up with you and this male lion after the break. Some kind of identity crisis, but enjoy the leopard.
So Mr. T has not moved a muscle, still atop his perch. His eyes opening from time to time, but not looking like he's about to get moving anytime soon. But we've still got to play the patience game with him. Just a little bit of light there. I don't think it's actually making too much difference. We'll wait. We'll wait till he gets moving. So I'm going to take the torch down. And you can see his ears are still moving, still definitely aware of what's going on around him. And if you're not aware out in the bush, you tend to live very short lives. We are sitting with him at the right time of day for him to get moving. I think it's likely that he should get moving before the end of the sunset safari. And if you're wondering anything about this spectacular male leopard, feel free to send me a question on that using the hashtag #SafariLive. And it is quite a peaceful setting amongst the clawless grass atop the termite mound. You can see the gentle breeze is even more gentle now. It's more of a whisper. Now it's going to be interesting to see which way he goes from here. Now he has been patrolling extensively at the moment, and I think we can almost flip a coin to where he's going to head. He could change direction very easily. Sleepy kitty. He's tucked his nose down again. Welcome back. We are still sitting with this beautiful male leopard. Jamie is still following that male lion. What an exciting sunset safari so far. Big cats abound. And just as we jumped over to Jamie to go listen to that incredible sound of a male lion roaring, it really does rattle the bones, so to speak. I was telling you about my bones being rattled by a male leopard a few years ago. Now, he charged out of this Timbuti thicket. Timbuti is a tree, by the way. You have no idea. A leopard does 24 meters per second. So he charged from under 5 meters. Literally, he just went, and then he stopped less than a half a meter. My leg was covered in sand and saliva. And then he ran off and he charged me again. He charged us from behind and again and again and again. I walked out of that riverbed literally shaking. I was carrying a rifle. I didn't even have time to move it. And oh, excuse me. And that's one of the reasons that if an animal in the bush really wants to get hold of you, it doesn't matter how fast you are, you're not fast enough. So I do love walking animals and definitely spending time with big cats on foot. Being charged multiple times by a leopard is definitely an experience I loved, but wouldn't want to replicate too many times. So he is still fast asleep and not going to be charging us anytime soon, at least. So as it gets darker, I was hoping he was going to move, but not yet. I can hear that lion Jamie's following roaring from all the way here. Brian's putting up his ambience. No, I think he's a bit too far. I know Jamie's trying to catch up with him. He took a shortcut through the block. But now Mr. Tingana is listening to where that lion is. He is heading down this way slightly. Although that lion's still quite far away. He could be hearing something else. There could be an impala. There could be anything around here. So, listening quite intently. So while we watch this male leopard, we've got a very interesting question from Common Sense, who's a new viewer from Poland. Common Sense is wondering, how big is this compound? This is not a compound. This is the African wilderness. We are part of an 8 million acre open system where the wildlife runs free. The animals can go wherever they please. We play second fiddle to them out here. This is not a fenced zoo or compound. This is the deepest, darkest of the African bush. And we are currently sitting with two incredible, dominant male big cats, a leopard and a lion on the other vehicle. And really great to have you here with us. Common sense. And hopefully you'll become a fan and join us as we follow the lives of these animals. Now his head is up, and hopefully he's going to get moving while we play the waiting game. Let's go to Jamie, who's with that other gorgeous big cat.
There's not much more that is as impressive as the sight of a male lion walking down the road towards you, looking to see if he can't be reunited with his buddies. And I'm about to reunite myself with an Nkuhuma tree. Perhaps I should look where I'm going as we do this in reverse in the dark. There we go. That's a little bit better. There's the road. It takes a special amount of practice to pull this off, but he is exactly where we expected him to be, heading straight south towards Gowrie Main and the rest of his coalition. Whoopsie, went off the road again. Let's let him go past. Quite a magnificent sight. Walking underneath the tree that his pride, that he's currently dominant over, was named after, the Nkuhuma or the brown ivory tree. And Sherry, you were wondering whether or not they start that soft contact call because they don't know if their buddies might be close by, and then get louder as they realize that they are not. It's a really good question, I suppose, although male lion has no real reason to soften the blow of his call, so to speak. He wants other lions to hear him. I think it's more kind of warming up, getting into the idea of it. Let's go straight to Gowrie Main rather than attempting to off-road in the dark through there. That's a really good question. I'm not 100% sure about the answer to that. I suspect it is just because they are getting into it, stretching the muscles, because there is a huge amount of physical work that goes into a lion when it makes that sound. What they have is they've got a special muscle that attaches their larynx to their diaphragm, and when it contracts, it pulls it down and creates that incredibly deep sound that is a lion's roar, both for the males and for the females. It really is an incredible feat of nature, and in its own way it does actually take a physical toll on them, so maybe it's almost like warming up, but it could also be that they're not 100% sure. Oh. Sorry guys, there's a whole herd of zebra that's just walked in there. This could be interesting. They're about to come running out at high speed. I have to take my spotlight off. We don't want to interfere with this. That was a surprise. They're blundering straight into him. The night is as still as can be, and he is right there. Now, while we wait to see how this plays out, let's head across to Tingana.
So I'm just going to give you a quick look. It looks like he might have heard something. He's not in full stalk yet, but he's meandered down there. So we're not going to follow him, especially not in this boat. we're not going to be able to sail through the dark night. What I will do is just wait in an open area close by, and let's see how we go. But this is a very thick area, and it's going to be very difficult in the boat during the day, let alone to sail at night. I don't know if I've got my boating license for after dark, so while we try to figure out what's going on here, let's go back to Jamie and that male lion.
Okay, so he's gone for them. I don't know what's happened. There's a cloud of dust. Mike is here as well. We can use the spotlight at this point because they have realized that he is there. I just want to have a quick chat to Mike because he was a bit closer to where we were. There he is. Never mind. It's a very upset zebra and one male lion that is far more interested in finding his friends rather than hunting zebra just right now. And there he goes right across to our southern boundary, and this will be the last view that we have of him. And there are some very, very upset zebras snorting off in the distance. The funniest part of that, at least they all made it out okay, was also the sudden expulsion of digestive gases coming from those zebra. It was quite intense. He's going to do some marking on Gowrie Main, and then he's going to continue on straight across south and into Little Gowrie. And that will be our last. Oh, he's calling. Whoops. Try not to blind poor Mike and his tracker. Well, we'll just sit in the darkness and listen. Oh, so incredible. Okay, it's gone a little bit. He's still in the water. Now Mike has just arrived and we have managed to spend a great deal of time with this particular lion. So what that means is we are going to let him go in front of us so that he can enjoy the sighting and the guests on the back of his vehicle can enjoy that male lion roar. We've had a pleasurable time with him. There might actually be space for two of us driving abreast. Let's see how we go. I don't want to blind his passengers either while they sit on the back. And we know that he is going to go south relatively soon. Stopping to listen, waiting desperately for the response from the other males. We've enjoyed an amazing time with him. I'm going to let this be our last shot for the sunset safari. Just watch him as he moves off into the darkness and off to join the rest of the coalition. Just a shape disappearing into the night. Cool. What an awesome way to spend an afternoon. Mike, I'm going to leave him all to you. We're going to head off. Cool. Yes, that is very true. Enjoy. Cheers, guys. No problem. The reason I'm leaving him as I do know that he's going to cross south very, very soon, and it just gives Mike's guests a chance to really enjoy that sighting and the vocalizations that are occurring. So while we head off into the night to find other fantastic things to see, let's find out what Brent's plans are now that Tingana has moved off.
Well, Tingana went right into those monkey orange thickets and we were unable to follow in the boat. I think we would have struggled in any vehicle in the dark to follow that leopard through there. What I am going to do, I just decided to come have a quick look around the seep line at the tree house waterhole, but it seems to be nothing here. So he was heading in an easterly direction, so I'm going to turn around and head to the next road down. We might get lucky, he might pop out of that really thick area. Well, we took the high road there, now let's take the low road back. So the last place we saw him was heading in that sort of direction there. Now hopefully he catches something on Djuma and will be around tomorrow or for the next couple of days at least. So we might get a glimpse as he moves through the bush here. So we're going to try find him again and hopefully he pops out into the road. But while we look for one of the big cats, Jamie's got one of the smallest inhabitants of the African bush.
And we don't necessarily, when we talk about the nocturnal creatures, really throw termites onto our radar, but just have a look at how incredibly busy these termites are. And of course this is where the nocturnal termites do most of their work, unless it is a cloudy day. Look at them all working together to move that branch. That's incredible. Well, I say that, not very successfully, but they are trying. I sort of get the impression that they're pulling in opposite directions. We're going to leave our termites, but Brent has a lovely surprise for you.
So as we linked away, I just suddenly heard Tingana calling just down the road. So we sped down there quickly, and we could hear him giving his dominant male territorial call. I'm hoping he does it again. Hey, mister. Here's such a pretty leopard. In his prime.
Leaving 1 minute gallon
Oh, sorry about that.
On Gary Main.
Now I'm really hoping. There we go. Isn't this incredible? We've had male lion and male leopard vocalizing in one safari. Now it looks like he could be listening for any pretender to his throne calling back. I'm going to move forward slightly. Now where he's heading there is an impenetrable wall, and there's a little very steep river system at the bottom. So I might be able to catch him on the other side, but we might lose him as he goes through here. Come on, one more call, big boy. Now his calls are not only to the other big male leopards in the area, it's to any of those young dispersal males and to any nomadic males like Mvula, just to let them know that they shouldn't have any ideas on his territory. He's still the big boss around here. He's very much listening intently. I wonder if he heard something on the other side of this little thicket or river system, or is he listening for a potential challenger to his throne? Just keeping quiet. I've been trying to listen. And he's having a lick now. He is an absolutely gorgeous individual. I agree wholeheartedly with Charlie, who says roaring and soaring within minutes of each other. Very cool. I think I might go one more than cool. I would go absolutely sublime.
While Brent has disappeared off your screen, we've just been enjoying the slow end of the cold front and the end to a really extraordinarily beautiful day. So many cats, we've just been exceptionally spoilt. We had lion calling, we had leopards sawing. It really doesn't get better than that as a way to end off a day. Monday? Monday. It is Monday, definitely. No, it is Monday. I wasn't sure if it was Monday or Sunday, but it was Monday apparently.
I'm in that region.
Liam, I think, feels much the same. And now every time I stop here, I just have to check the bush baby hole. Nobody is home. Not today. This is where we had him playing peekaboo with us the other evening, but I think we've arrived a little bit too late. The bush baby's probably gone out searching for food already. Let's go and see if we can find one for you then, hopping about in the trees or some other interesting and unusual animals. I know that Brent was discussing earlier about what he would like to see. He said serval, Herbert said aardvark, Brent also said aardwolf, I think. Now if I see an aardwolf, I think that would really be a fitting end to an extraordinary drive. Here come our zebra. I'm dropping my lights. As you know, we don't shine on diurnal animals I don't want to cause them any damage, but there are zebra moving about in the background there. Probably with heartbeats going a little bit faster than they might otherwise have been doing after that somewhat narrow escape from the lion. And I think they were very lucky that he was as preoccupied as he was with finding his friends. Now, Mike had called in a couple of moments ago that the Birmingham boy did exactly what we expected him to do and went south into Little Gowrie. We'll know that he will be reunited with them probably in less than an hour or so, probably in less than half an hour or so, before the end of the sunset safari. And Mike has just called in now on the Game Drive channel that he's just found a female leopard crossing south over Gowrie, Maine. One has to wonder if that was in fact Karula and that if she's been giving us the slip the whole day. Maybe just walking up and down Gowrie, Maine and confusing us. Or perhaps she's just been stalking along that boundary. Either way, she is now hunting and it is quite dark, so we don't want to go and interrupt her, and I don't think we'd get there just in time. And Paul has said to help me remember what day of the week it is. If there's lions and leopards calling, then it must be a Monday. Oh, fair enough, Paul, can't really argue with that. What's it, Saturday Catterday? It was Monday Catterday, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but we're certainly not going to argue. We are definitely not going to argue with when the cats decide to give us an awesome display like that. Oh, sorry, little Dacre. What I'm doing at the moment for any of our newer viewers is using the spotlight to pick up the eye shine of any of the animals that might be reflecting back at us. They have a layer at the back of their eye called a tapetum lucidum. And animals like the big cats, the nocturnal predators, they have particularly reflective tapetum lucidums that bounce the light back. They look almost like, well, cat's eyes on the road, or like hazard stickers in a way. We have a question from one of our viewers asking if we know each and every cat in the Sabi Sand. So SB, you were wondering about that, and the answer is, personally, no, I don't. I don't have any claim to knowing every cat in the Sabi Sands. A lot of our viewers keep track in a wonderful way of all of the different individuals that move about. At this point, we know all of the cats that hang about in our area, but less so in terms of those that move outside. Now, James and Brent have both worked at Londolozi. Scott also had worked a lot in the southern Sabi Sands. They are far more familiar with some of the individuals that are still alive from their time guiding in that area. I came from a different part of the country completely, so whilst I've got to know the characters that we see occasionally here, I haven't learnt about the rest of them. I had a whole different set of individuals that I knew about. And it is difficult to keep track of individuals unless you are seeing them every single day. But there are Facebook groups and all kinds of social media groups that do indeed keep track of the different movements of the different cats. As we spotlight around, just forgive me one moment. Mike is trying to get hold of us. Go ahead, Mike. Copy that. Thanks very much, Mike. Enjoy. I don't think we'll be responding for this evening. Thanks though, Mike. It's a good place to start tomorrow morning. So the reason why I'm telling Mike that we are not going to be responding to his sighting of Karula is that she is very busy stalking. She's a single mom with 2 ravenous mouths to feed above and beyond her own, and I'm going to let her just move into the night and go and hunt for herself, as Mike is going to do shortly. So that's why I'm just letting you know, that's why I'm not going to that sighting for now. It is also exceptionally far away, so there's a very good chance we could race there and then completely miss out on the opportunity to see her. And we'll let her go about her evening business as only Karula can. We know she's a gifted hunter. We also know that she's been trying to hunt unsuccessfully all day. And we'll leave it up to her to do that, and we will look for her again tomorrow morning. But she is a sneaky one, that one, because we must have gone straight past her this afternoon, both Brent and myself and Herbert and probably about 10 other vehicles, because she's right where we stopped, and we did several checks, and where Brent found her tracks crossing south. So she's been wondering about occupying herself throughout the day. There's some impala as well. But while we spotlight for some of the more unusual nocturnal creatures, Ruth, you were wondering whether we've ever seen a caracal on drive. And the answer is no, I haven't seen one on Djuma yet. I have seen them regularly in the past, but I have yet to see one wandering around Djuma. For those of you who don't know, a caracal is kind of like a bobcat, a lynx, in the way that it's got the tufts on the end of its ear. It is a medium-sized, very almost brick red cat, about the same size as a serval, but a bit stockier, a bit heavier. Very, very skilled tree climbers and incredible jumpers. There are some amazing videos for those of you who are at a loss as to what to do with yourself after the sunset safari. If you want to go and have a look at some of the videos of caracals leaping up into the air, they are poetry in motion to watch. I have not seen one on any of the live drives. I don't know whether any of our more regular viewers, those of you who've been watching for years, have ever seen one on a live drive. It hasn't happened, as far as I know, since I started working here a year ago. I'm not 100% certain if one has been seen. That's an impala, not a serval. They can be a bit tricky. Oh, 'tis a Dacre. Sorry, Vim. Sorry. I didn't see you were looking there. My mistake. Left you all in darkness. I just get so caught up in the excitement of traveling into the night. Well, we've come now to the end of our sunset safari, and it's unfortunately time for me to say farewell for now, but we will be following up tomorrow on the sunset safari once again. So thank you, Liam, for your fantastic camera work. It's been an epic afternoon, and thank you to the lovely ladies in Final Control, and most importantly, thank you to all of you across the globe watching, and again, thank you for your patience with all of our strange little rehearsal techniques that we're putting into place. We do appreciate having all of you on board our safari. Have a wonderful day, and we will catch you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
What an amazing sunset safari, even though the weather was a bit foofy, for lack of a better word. We had incredible leopard and lion, and can't really ask for a better day out in the office and then spending some time with leopard and lion. And as Jamie was saying, we're only going to see you on the sunset safari tomorrow we have bracketed the sunrise safari for rehearsal, so we're going to be practicing getting some stuff ready for the TV shows this weekend. So I know for a lot of our viewers in the North Americas, it'll be an opportunity for you to catch up on some sleep. And hopefully while we're rehearsing out here, we'll find some kitty cats for tomorrow's sunset safari. But it has been splendid, and thank you for all the questions. It's always interesting to hear from you guys and your comments. We really do enjoy hearing from you and love sharing our passion and knowledge for the African bush with all of you. And what a good start for the Killer Bees sailing. The first time both of us have sailed, from Captain Leo Smith and first mate Brian Joubert and the Thumb, and first officer Herbert of the SSS boat. It's been wonderful, and we look forward to having you on the sunset safari tomorrow evening. Ships ahoy! Yar! Yar! Yeah, that was a good one.